What up? Oh, I ain't hit record, y'all. What up, crew? What's good? It's your girl Sade, and it is time for another episode of the Crew Book Club podcast. I cannot wait to get into this new book number 2. And listen, you guys are not going to be disappointed because I am not. If you're new to the show, I am your host, Sade Hill, and I love to read books. And I love to read books that encourage me to be a better person, operate at a higher frequency, and challenge me to do better. It is so addicting. And I just want to share those aha moments with you and to give you those keynotes so you could decide whether you want to read it, audio listen to the rest of the book, or maybe recommend to someone else and who can tell you about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, cool. I'm super excited that you're tuning in to hang with the Crew Book Club podcast. You know, I always like to start off the episode asking you, how are you really feeling? Like, seriously, how are you feeling? You know, after reading this book, I'm looking at feeling negative or positive with more enlightenment. I'm always telling people do not sit in that negative space for too long because we don't want to get used to that space and to continue to push forward and to be positive. And this book speaks on that. Listen, and no matter how you feeling, I always like to give you a scripture in our segment called Who Gonna Check Me, Boo? And it's always God. Every week I read the Bible. Every day I read the Bible. And lately I'm reading the story out of 1 Kings about Solomon becoming a king after David dies. It's a really good it's a really good story. So I'm more so studying it, and it really hasn't checked me. It's just more so studying the story and the characters in 1 Kings. What really has been checking me is the devotional journal by Marshawn Evan Daniels called 100 Days of Believing Bigger. Oh, these scriptures have been coming for your girl. And the scripture that came for me this week particularly was today. And it was from day 21. And the scripture was Romans 12, 6 through 7. It reads, "Let's just go ahead and be what we were made to be, without enviously or pridefully comparing ourselves with each other or trying to be something we aren't." We've all been there. And if you say you haven't been there, live on this earth long enough, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a moment. You'll have a moment like that of trying to be something that you're not, thinking you need to be something for a crowd or a job to get where you need to go. We've all been there. And in the passage, she says, God won't bless who you pretend to be. So let's stop conforming, shrinking, dimming your light, and running from who and what you were always meant to be, say, create, and do. This podcast is my check me. When I was reading this scripture, I really kind of was more so like, I don't know, a podcast, really? Should I do it? And last year, January 26th, I wrote saying that I would be a popular podcast, a producing podcast. And I wrote it. I think I did a meeting in March, and I kind of thought I couldn't afford to do it, or basically I came up with excuses, and I didn't. But by the end of the year, I said, you know what? An opportunity presented itself, and then me and my own mind was like, know what, Sade? No, you're not. You're not going to not do it. You're going to do it. Just as the quote that was from the Crew Book Club Instagram, I had said, and even in the last episode, I said the worst thing is to have regret. I'd rather go scared to know than to stay scared and not know. And I live to that till this day. So reading this scripture, I'm so happy I started this podcast because I felt I meant to say, create, and to do this. So yeah, that was the who gon' check me boo moment. And I want you to embrace who you are and be encouraged and to not dim your light, okay? So I'm happy I do scripture at the beginning because this new book we're reading, you guys are going to hear a disclaimer. Wait, let me put the disclaimer out. The new book, I'm going to be dropping some F-bombs. Can you guess what book it is? Let me give you 1, 2, 3. The new book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. You know, I'm not really a huge cusser. I feel like I sound weird even cursing sometimes. But anywho, that is the book we're reading. So you will be hearing me drop the F-bomb in the next few episodes. It's okay. I'm still going to get into heaven, okay? I just want to let you guys know that is the only reason why I'll be dropping the F-bomb this many times, okay? So you probably you see this book everywhere. It's highly recommended. It's super popular. It's, the top books to read, yada, yada, yada. And no lie, so far, y'all, I am on the train that you need to get this book. No lie. Okay? Just in the first flap of the book, it reads, in this generation, defining self-help guide, a superstar blogger shows us that the key to being happier is to stop trying to be positive all the time. Instead, become better at handling adversity. It reads, once you embrace your fears, faults, and uncertainties, once you stop running from and avoiding and start confronting painful truths, we can begin to find courage and confidence we desperately seek. We have been talking about this from our prior book, Fear is My Homeboy. I think just embracing it and recognizing what it is, it helps moving you forward. And that's where the whole positive and negative aha moments I was having all throughout chapter 1, titled Don't Try. Before we get started, I want you to think, when you are in a negative space, what is it typically about? Why are you in that space? For me, I've struggled with maybe, not being at a certain place in my life. So I would get into this negative space, or maybe I failed, or, anything like that. Life was coming at me hard, issues, and I would try to suppress them sometimes instead of facing them and moving forward, because it's a lot of things are out of our control, but the things that are in our control that may be negative, we tend to have this defense mechanism with negativity, and we try to avoid it, when actuality we just need to push forward and stare at negativity in the face. Okay? And that's kind of what he touched on in chapter 1 on titled Don't Try. And if we go to page 8, he reads, we joke a lot about first world problems, but we really have become victims of our own success. We have so much fucking stuff and so many opportunities that we don't even know what to give a fuck about anymore. Because there's an infinite amount of things we can now see or know. There are also an infinite number of ways we can discover that we don't measure up and we're not good enough. The things aren't as good as they could be, and this rips us apart inside. Yeah, I think look at social media alone. Have you feeling like you're not doing enough? Oh, you gotta be hustling. You gotta be doing this, that, and the other. If you sleep for 8 hours, you gonna die in your grave. I'm gonna die in my grave. You hear all this crazy stuff. Or the news. It can cause us to panic, put us in panic mode for no reason. Half the time, they don't even know what they're talking. Half the time. Heck, 99.9% of the time, the news don't know what they're talking about. They're learning as we learn. Side note, I don't even watch the news anymore because I feel like it's a lot of baloney. that's out there. You know, that's why I like reading books. You kind of can do your own research, and also having a relationship with God really allows me to have discernment of information and intake, knowing what to believe, knowing what not to believe, and having so much faith in Him that these worldly problems are not my problem. I don't give a fuck. Okay? For real. So I like that part about it. I've kind of came up with this, instead of FOMO, fear of missing out, I'm more like F.I.M.O. Fuck it. Miss out. I don't care. I made that up myself, y'all. Toot. Now, if y'all start using it, I need you guys to give me my credit, okay? All right. Have you thought about that negative vibe of yours? I want you to really think about that, because as I read off of page 9 through 11, he has this philosopher quoted, Alan Watts. It says, it's called the backwards law. Basically, the idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, as pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. That kind of goes back to our scripture about embracing you and not trying to compare yourself and things like that. If you just focus on you, you won't have to worry about comparing yourself and constantly reinforcing yourself that you're lacking. That's what I felt like when I read that. It says, what's interesting about the backwards law is that it's called backwards for a reason. Not giving a fuck works in reverse. If pursuing the positive is a negative, then pursuing the negative generates the positive. Think about it. The pain you pursue in the gym results in better all-around health and energy. The failures in business are what lead to better understanding of what's necessary to be successful. Being open with your insecurities paradoxically makes you more confident and charismatic around others. The pain of honest confrontation is what generates the greatest trust and respect in your relationships. Suffering through your fears and anxiety is what allows you to build courage and perseverance. Whoa. I know that was a lot. But you have to understand how he puts it. If pursuing positive is a negative, then pursuing the negative generates the positive. No matter what, to be successful, to be great at something, you're going to have to endure the negative to get to the positive. I wish I had bomb sound effects dropping off, because so often our natural mechanism is to avoid pain, to avoid negativity. In actuality, we need to be pushing towards it to get to where we're trying to get to. Yes. Everything worthwhile in life is won through surmounting the associated negative experience. Man, I love this. It says, any attempt to escape the negative, to avoid it, or squash it, or silence it only backfires. The avoidance of suffering is a form of suffering. The avoidance of struggle is a struggle. The denial of failure is a failure. Hiding what is shameful is itself a form of shame. That alone will keep you in a negative space. Man, this book just was killing it for me this week. I mean, I couldn't put it down. At times I had to. Okay, I gotta focus. But every turn that I got to have a moment, I was reading this book. It's so good. And you guys, that was just in chapter 1. And I really even get to scratch the surface of chapter 1. It's so good. But I only have a limited time with you guys. Okay, so I want to get into the challenge of the week. And I want you guys to guess. I'm gonna give y'all 3 seconds. Did you guess what the challenge of the week is? It's so simple. The challenge of the week is don't give a fuck. Don't give a flying fuck. Okay? If you go to page 13, there's a passage that says, if you go around giving a fuck about everything and everyone without conscious thought of choice, well, then you're going to get fucked. Yeah. How many times have you cared about something that really doesn't affect your everyday life? Think about it. You know how many times we have conversations about celebrities or the neighbor or whatever it is that won't even generate $1 in your pocket? You're not gonna lose any sleep. And if you're losing sleep over stuff like that, then I need you to reevaluate what you're putting your energy into. Okay? All right. So the challenge of the week is don't give a fuck this week. Only care about the things that really matter. When you having a moment where you feel that negativity and you feel like you're giving something a whole bunch of energy, be like, you know what? Does this affect my bottom line? Will I live tomorrow if this happens? Like, come on, give yourself the opportunity to not give a fuck this week. So that's your challenge of the week, crew. If you want to share your I did it moment, I did the challenge and I rocked it, I killed it. Come on and celebrate. I want to celebrate with you. The crew wants to celebrate with you. Motivate someone else not to give a fuck. And email thecrewbookclub@gmail.com, or you can DM us at the Crew Book Club on Instagram. I would love to share with the crew on the next week's episode on the podcast. Okay, so let's get into what would the crew do. This gives you the opportunity to ask me advice. I'll give you the best advice, or you can go onto our Instagram page where I post the Ask Advice column, and you guys can share what you think. And because, that's what the crew is about, bouncing ideas off of each other and seeing things from a different perspective. We got to learn from the crew. So show some crew love and go to the Crew Book Club page on Instagram. Follow, comment, join the conversation. Okay, so the question comes from our Instagram. And the question is, let me find it. Oh, here it is. It says, hey crew, and the What If the World Needs You episode, you spoke about work-life balance and self-care time. How do you organize your day in order to be productive and also take care of yourself? Ooh, this is such a good question. And it's so right on time because I am doing a Live Hard program, 75 Hard. It's part of the 75 Hard franchise. And it's a program that makes me put myself first. It helps me with time management. You look it up, 75 Hard. I'm going to put it in the LinkedIn bio as well on our Instagram page so you can check it out. And also on the podcast description, I'm going to drop the link where you can click on that and you can see it from there too. But basically, every Sunday, if I don't do it Sunday night, definitely Monday, I have a board where I call it Killing It Weekly, which is basically my to-do list. But I like to I'm killing it because I want to encourage myself at the same time. Okay, let's kill it this week. And I literally write down everything that needs to be done, and it's time blocked. Self-care for me is going to the gym. It's something about, or working out, exercising, yoga, whether it's outside, inside, but something active. Because whenever I'm active, it gives me this extra boost of confidence, this extra boost of energy to go out and conquer the world. You have to find your thing. I recommend working out because I feel like it's going to be a great result. You're putting yourself first. And when we look good, we feel good. And then I feel like working out is investing in yourself. And I feel like that's a form of self-care. Even scheduling self-care. Like I literally write 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. gym. And if someone said, oh, we can have a meeting at 8 in the morning, I'm like, no, that time is booked up and you have to respect that. And let me tell you one thing. If someone wants to work with you or meet with you, they're going to respect that. So I schedule my self-care and my self-time, and I treat it as an appointment. What was the other? And yes, so organizing my day. Once I have my calendar done, each day I look and see, and then I prioritize it, whether it's A, B, or C. A is always top priority. I do real estate, so of course my clients are top priority, whether it's documents, paperwork. If something pivots in my schedule, it is definitely written down. But yeah, so I try to do it monthly, and then each beginning of the week I write it out, and if things come at me that may pivot my schedule, it goes into the calendar. But I never reschedule myself time, whether it's a gym, whether it's a pedicure, whatever your self-care is, don't reschedule it. I mean, of course, if it's something like major, I could refigure a nail appointment. But I'm talking about my fitness, those things are not altered. Meditating, prayer, and yoga are not altered. Sometimes if I know I have a really busy day, I'll wake up early just to fit the meditation and workout in purposely, because I know I might have a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning that I need to get to. So yeah, that's how I organize my day and be productive, as well as scheduling my self-care. That was a really good question. Share your questions, ask your questions, scenarios. I love to give advice. I try my best. But if I don't give the best advice, someone who's listening at the crew, they will. So you can just come by the page and scope out those answers as well. Okay, so I cannot leave you without the quote of the week. Yes, the quote of the week comes from our book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And the quote is, "To not give a fuck is to stare down life's most terrifying and difficult challenges and still take action," by Mark Manson. Listen, thank you for hanging with the Crew Book Club podcast. I will holler at you all next Monday right here at the Crew Book Club podcast. Now go out and not give a fuck.